Hi and welcome along to AFTV News Daily. It is Monday, the start of a new week. Happy Monday to you and all, wherever you are watching us right now across the world. I hope you're staying well and staying safe in these really troubled times. Of course, there has been a return to football over the weekend over there in the Bundesliga, so that has been encouraging to see. A game yesterday that was played, of course, was Bayern Munich, who are the team at the top over there in the Bundesliga, and Lewandowski yet again on the score sheet. They beat Union Berlin, who's been my adopted team. They beat them by 2-0, and Bayern returned to the top of the table. And much of the same as what we've seen over the weekend in the Bundesliga. Socially distanced footballers sitting on the bench. Disinfected balls, and of course nobody at the ground. Absolutely nobody there. No fan. Well, no. When I say nobody there, no fans at the ground to watch the game. And a real shame for Union Berlin, a team that's come up through the divisions, got an amazing support. That would have been probably the highlight of their season, playing Bayern Munich, and that game behind closed doors. And Arsene Wenger yesterday having some really interesting comments on the whole behind closed doors things. Of course, Arsene now is working for FIFA. Has got a very important job there. And he was speaking to BN Sports, and they were asking him about the whole thing being played, all this football being played behind closed doors at the moment. And his quotes were, "It will damage the show in the longer term without supporters. I'm convinced of that." And he went on to say that, the priority has to be to get football fans back inside the stadiums. And he's spot on with that. It's all right, at the moment watching the games behind the closed doors, because we haven't seen no football for so long that it was just good to see it come back. But as a spectacle, it is nowhere near the same as when the fans are there. The value of the fans, as I keep saying, is now being realized by one and all. We're not just dots in the stadium. We are actually a very important part of football, and need to get that back. The fans. And interesting that Arsene Wenger there agreeing that it has to come back. And there's many sort of plans of trying to get fans back in the stadium that they're thinking about. Testing, of course, is going to be very important once that starts coming in more universally across the UK for everybody. Because right now, the problem is over here in this country is that we don't even know whether we've got it or not. It's going to be all right for the footballers when they go back. They'll all be tested. And interestingly, they're saying today that, they're having meetings today in the Premier League to discuss, proper training now, teams training together. But they'll all be tested. And the big problem in this country at the moment is that it's just not enough testing going on. But once you do start testing people and you know who has it and who doesn't have it, you can then bring in a system of tracking and tracing. You can say you've got to wear a mask to go to a game. You can start off by socially distancing fans and gradually bring more and more in as you know who and who's got it. So it's going to be a gradual stage, but they've got to get fans back into the game to really bring that spectacle back. And also remember, massive loss of income without the fans in as well. A team like Arsenal, they reckon, is the worst off in the Premier League because it does so well with its match day revenue. And we all know about that because of the prices we pay. And Arsenal really suffering at the moment. And on that financial fair play, it was a top executive, I think the chief actually of UEFA was speaking yesterday, saying that they're going to relax the financial fair play rules over the next couple of seasons to try and help to make teams cope with the current circumstances. Of course, the financial fair play is all about not being able to spend more than what you earn. But they're going to relax that so that you can possibly spend a lot more than what you're currently earning, so that, that enables owners like Stan Kroenke to possibly sink a load of money into the club. The cash injection that we've been hearing about. If this is relaxed, which, the UEFA chief is saying it is going to be a relax, does that mean that well, whether it means it or not, it opens up the way where a proper cash injection, hypothetically, could be put into the club by Stan Kroenke, because he could turn around and say, right, you know, I know we've been running off of this model where, you know, whatever we earn, sticking to financial fair play, but you know what? To get us back on track now, I'm going to sink, I don't know, £100 million of my own money into the club, and I won't be breaking any financial fair play rules. Now, will he do that? That's the thing about it. Can you see him doing that? I'll leave it to you guys to let me know. You already know, I think, what you already know what I think will happen with that, but I'll leave it to you guys. Now, Arsenal linked today with a French player. He goes by the name of Serhou Guirassy. He plays for Amiens, and he's a forward, 24, and he had a pretty decent season for Amiens last season, despite Amiens being relegated. He scored 9 goals, 1 assist. That's not too bad. And he's very highly rated over there in France. Amiens, as I said, the team that he plays for, they were relegated. Remember, the French league finished early because the Prime Minister over there said that there'd be no major sporting events in France until at least the 1st of September. So they had to cancel their league. The league was awarded to PSG, and Amiens were relegated without playing their last 10, 11 games, which really, really upset them. But obviously, a player like him, valuable asset, they're willing to cash in on him. They're valuing him at around about £15 million. Arsenal said to be one of those clubs that are interested in signing him. He's definitely going to go this season, but where he ends up, there's quite a lot of teams looking at him, particularly Premier League teams. So could he be on his way to the Premier League? We're going to have to wait and see how that one ends up. Axel Disasi, of course, who we've spoken about several times on the show, been linked very heavily to Arsenal. Disasi, some very interesting quotes coming out from the president of the current team that he plays for, which of course is Reims. And the president, seeming by his quotes, seeming to suggest that he's definitely on his way as well. He was talking to ABC Sevilla, and he said, these are his quotes: "I know the interest of Sevilla, of course, but it will not be easy. At this time, the player is closer to the Premier League." And then he says, "Is it Arsenal? It could be, but I'm not saying more about it because it's confidential data." So that seems to suggest for definite that Arsenal are one of those teams that are interested in him, unless he's lying and trying to hype his price up, which could be possible. But those are his quotes. There's really, again, there. He says, "Is it Arsenal? It could be, but I'm not saying more about it because it's confidential data." So interesting that it was only Arsenal was the only club he mentioned there as a possibility of where Disasi could end up. So could we possibly see Disasi partnership with Saliba next season at Arsenal? Interesting to see how that one's going to develop out, but definitely there seems to be quite a lot of interest in him. And then of course there's Emmanuel Dennis of Club Brugge. Again, another team, plays for another team that has just been handed out something, where Club Brugge were awarded the title over there in Belgium after the Belgium League also shut down early, and Club Brugge were declared the winners of that league, despite there still being games left to play. He's valued at around about £22 million, a Nigerian. He's 22, so still pretty young, and he did have a decent season as well, also scoring 9 goals in 33 appearances. And he's admitted that he is definitely going to be leaving Club Brugge. Again, Arsenal, one of those clubs linked with him. I think he's been linked with Leicester, a couple of other clubs in the Premier League. Would love to come and play in the Premier League as well. And we've been linked with him since, well, I was just about to say the start of the window. We're not even in the transfer window, but we've been linked with him non-stop. Could he be on his way to Arsenal? Could he be a player that Arsenal can consider in that forward position. Certainly, you never know. Could be a long-term replacement for Lacazette, who's put himself in a lot of problems with this whole balloon thing. We spoke about it yesterday. These pictures of him captured in a Daily Star with him, you know, doing the hippie crack stuff with a balloon, whether he did it or not, whether it's just a joke or not, I don't know. But the club are taking it seriously, and they said they're investigating it. And it's not great for Lacazette. He's not done well during this whole lockdown thing. First of all, the socially distancing thing, where he was seen not to be socially distancing from someone who was valeting his car. And now this, well, this is 10 times worse. He's been in trouble for this before. And Arsenal said to be very unhappy about it indeed, if it does indeed turn out to be true. They are investigating it to find out exactly what has happened with this, but certainly not a great look for Lacazette. And there, you know, as I said, players like your Emmanuel Dennis's and people like that people are looking at. Although Emmanuel Dennis, 9 goals this season. Lacazette scored, you know, 9 goals as well. I think even more. And we've been all on his case saying he hasn't played well. So I think we've got to be very careful here. You know, if we were to get rid of Lacazette, say, which I don't think will happen, you got to be bringing in somebody of the similar quality. All these names being bandied about, but, you know, are they anywhere near the quality of a Lacazette? And we still seem to be chasing a goalkeeper. I told you yesterday about the goalkeeper. We were looking at Ariel Fonzo. Now we're very interested in this guy, Neto, who is a Brazilian who plays for Barcelona. He's 30 now. Very good keeper, actually. But only 1 start this season. 1 start for Barcelona. Excuse me. He's a former Juventus keeper. I think he was also, what other club was he at? Fiorentina he was at. But he's definitely former Juventus keeper as well. But he just doesn't seem to be getting the full game time. And number 2 behind Mark ter Stegen at Barcelona, you know, you're always going to have problems getting into the team when you're behind one of the very best goalkeepers in the world right now. So he's said to be on Arsenal's radar. Arsenal definitely looking like they're after a number 2 goalkeeper. And he's another one that seems to be fitting the bill. It's not looking good for Emilio Martinez. You know, all these goalkeepers being linked. He could be on his way out. But again, let's see how that all pans out. Let's get into some of your comments. Thank you very much for all of them. Lots of them as usual. John SC says, Lacazette seems to have a lot of discipline issues, Robbie. But we shouldn't get this Dennis guy. Not good enough for the Premier League yet. Odsonne Edouard would be a better option. Is Odsonne Edouard better than Lacazette, though? That's the thing, you know. We've got to be careful here. Storm says, we have Leno and Martinez. I think if we let go Martinez a few years later, he will be world-class, I think. World-class. Certainly, he's a good keeper, Martinez, you know. I don't know, maybe the thing that you look at and say he's not the greatest of keepers where it comes to playing out from the back and stuff like that, which seems to be what every manager's looking for now. And maybe I haven't seen enough of this Neto, but maybe he's good at doing that. I don't know. But certainly we seem to be looking at goalkeeping options right now. Maybe he wants to leave Martinez, you know. Been there for a very long time as a number 2. So Simon says, really, Robbie, vodka at 10 a.m. I've got that vodka again. It's water. Chill, it's water. Robert Lackman says, Robbie, what about the Hudson-Odoi story? Right, so I've seen that story today. Hudson-Odoi of Chelsea arrested for a bust-up with his girlfriend at 4 a.m. in the morning. He broke the lockdown rules as well. Not a good look for him as well. So, you know, again, these footballers, man, getting into a lot of problems with this lockdown. A lot of them seem to be thinking they're immune to it. They're not. They're the same as us. Locked down, stay in. Jack Ryan says, football fans is like tea without milk. It doesn't work. I don't mind tea without milk, actually. I don't drink milk in coffee. I don't drink milk in tea. So, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, you've got to have fans. You know, you've got to have fans at games. It's all right for now as a little temporary measure, but this, I agree with Arsene Wenger. This can't continue. It will kill the game outright. It really will. Mr. Rotten says Laka is our most passionate player right now. I would keep him because we need that in our squad. However, Ella Kid says Lacazette out, so he's not happy. Yashwanav says when Troop said Laka better than Firmino, laugh out loud. Laka fit into a piece. Laka couldn't lace. I think he can't lace Bobby's boots. Big skill and professionalism. Lacazette's let himself down with this whole thing. No doubt, he's let himself down. And on top of that, when you're not having the greatest of seasons, it looks terrible. Senti says yes, Robbie. Who do we replace Laka with if Arsenal did decide to sell him in the next window? And how will this compromise and the rest of our attacking front with Aubameyang bound to be affected by this too? And that's from Kurdish. Big up Kurdish. Listen, I've always said I'd like to hold on to both of them. I don't think what Lacazette has done is the sort of offence where you get rid of him. But if Lacazette did go, you've got to replace him with top quality. And Edouard at Celtic looks a decent prospect, but he's not as good as Lacazette, and he's nowhere near as good as Aubameyang. And for me, I keep saying this: if we're gonna progress, of course you can sell players, you know, but quality has to replace it. If it was Icardi coming in for Lacazette, I'll be cool with that. But then if we're worried about problems, we're bringing more problems upon ourselves as well. So, but quality has to be replaced with quality. That's how I look at it. LS11 says Disasi is good. I was watching him a lot. Arsenal definitely seem to be interested in. Lord's official says, hey Robbie, was watching highlights of Arsenal's matches this season and found that if our strikers were 100% accurate, Ozil would get 10 assists. He had presence. Many forgot the chances he made. Hashtag keep Ozil. We make a lot of excuses for Mesut Ozil, man, if the strikers have been 100% accurate. No striker in the Premier League is 100% accurate, you know? And we've got a couple of the very best strikers in the Premier League, including one of the very best, you know, I have to say this season, just beyond Vardy on scoring goals. It's not an excuse. He's not been good enough this season, Ozil. You know, I'm sure if he was to sit down and he was being honest with himself, even he would admit that. Ben Antonio says, Robbie, do you think Emil Smith-Rowe will get a chance next season? I do think he will. I somehow don't think he'll be out on loan. I think, you know, with the current state of finances and that, I expect us to bring him back. However, that's unless Stan comes with a big cash injection. What about that, Stan? Balaji says, Robbie, we have to stabilise and get players off the wage bill this summer. I expect more clear-outs than bring-ins. Well, I don't think you're going to get the big clear-outs that you're expecting this summer because, as I've said many a time, if you're a player, why would you want to move right now in this current climate if you're on decent wages? You're going to wait it out. Holden Whitley says, the point is that Stan Kroenke is the most stubborn person on the face of the earth and won't put any more money than he has to into the club. We won't contend until we've been bought by the Nigerian, you know. And again, as we're saying, right now, they're relaxing those rules. And that could benefit a team like Newcastle when they do that takeover. Because, you know, you think about it, if those rules are relaxed, their new owners, the Saudi owners, could take full advantage of what's going on and go out there and splash like ridiculous amounts of money on some of the best players because they won't be breaking financial fair play rules and they'll be able to bring in some of the very best players around. So, you know, we've got to get our act together. But can I see Stan Kroenke sinking like a load of money into the club? No, never has done really, has he? Danny says, what we should worry more with Laka is if he will regain his best. I'm really worried if he's in the right mental state, to be honest. And that has to be questioned when you see what's going on with Lacazette. you say to yourself, is he in the right mental state? Well, you know, he's obviously not handling this lockdown very well. Jack says, get Cavani in on a free, keep him for 2 years, let Eddie develop us as backup, then slot Eddie in after 2 years. Cavani would be a lot of wages. Obviously, he's available on a free contract, but I'm sure he's going to be looking for a lot of wages. Shrey says, Robbie, with all the news about players breaking lockdown rules, what exactly are the media reporters doing by following the players? Your thoughts? The media need to introspect before blaming others. Well, you know, listen, these guys in the media are the biggest hypocrites. You know, that's why I said yesterday, when I look at, not to say I do hippie crap, by the way, but when I look at what Lacazette did, is that, you know, in your own privacy, because remember, that wasn't them following him. That was like him sending a text to one of his friends, and obviously they've leaked it to the press. I suppose if there was a couple of things that from what I did that got leaked to the press, I'd look bad and you'd look bad and everybody would look bad, you know? So, and yeah, the press, you know, they're out there trying to find that story because they know that we'll all lap it up. So they're out there trying to see if somebody's not socially distancing, that's famous and that, so that they can print it. But then on the other hand, players know this. They know that the press are looking for that story. They know that the press are looking to make sure that they're not, so, you know, if they can find them not socially distancing so they can turn it into a big story. They know that, you know, Hudson-Odoi out at 4 a.m. at a girl's house where you shouldn't be. They know you know, they know that's going to make a big story. But the players should know as well. They know that the press are after you for these things. So why, you know, why give them ammunition? You know, and some really stupid behavior from some players. Then again, when you weigh it up and you think about how many players are playing football, it's only a tiny percentage of them that have misbehaved over this whole thing. That's how I look on things sometimes. A tiny percentage of them, right, that have been caught out and have been misbehaving. The vast majority, and probably 95% of them, have been sticking to the rules. And if you looked at in society, you know, 95% of society have been sticking to the rules and 5% have broken it. So are they any different to anybody else? You know? Andre says, Liverpool haven't mathematically won the league, but Manchester United haven't mathematically escaped relegation. So why is it fair to allow them to stay up next year? Well, that's exactly why, right? You can't just go awarding things if the season got voided. And that's why I'd say you start again. Nobody would be the, you know, I disagree with what they've done over there in Belgium, what they've done over there in France. I think it makes a mockery of the game. I don't care how far teams is ahead. You have to start again. In my books, you can't, if it's not completed, and this is why I want it to get completed, so that just all this argument is taken away, you know. Let's get some more. Lars Lund says 9 goals in League One, 3 goals in the Premier League. Look at Shamak, 13 goals in 34 games for Bordeaux, 7 goals in 29 games in his best season for Arsenal. Osman Edouard is both younger and much better. And exactly what I'm saying there, 9 goals playing for Amiens, Cerro Garassi. That's not a great record. It's all right. It's okay, you know. And the Premier League is much, much, much harder. You know, you really want to be, you know, really and truly, I want to be seeing 20 goals scored. That's what actually Lacazette was doing season in, season out when he was at Lyon. 9 goals, it's okay. Emmanuel Dennis, 9 goals in 33 appearances for Club Brugge, the team that won the league over there in Belgium pretty easily. Is that a great record? It's okay. You know, I'm looking for us to bring in some top grade play. I mean, I know sometimes you bring in these players, they're a bit under the radar and they come in and they're real gems. But striker wise, why get rid of what we've got for what looks like some very average looking players at the moment? If I'm being honest, could develop into being top players, but if you've got a couple of top strikers, why You know, is Emmanuel Dennis going to come in and do any better than Martinelli? Probably not. Martinelli scored more goals than him this season. Football Hobby says, Robbie, no players in, no players out. I don't think that will happen, to be honest. Elliot Roberts says, good morning from Toronto, Robbie. No need for a new keeper. Arsenal should concentrate in the areas of real need. Number one centre-back and a holding midfielder and alleviate the wasted wage bill. It's a great shout. That I don't think it's a decent backup goalkeeper, Martin is, but obviously, I don't know. It could be that he wants to go. He could be saying, you know what? He could be saying to Arsenal, come the end of the season, I'd like to move on because I want to play first team football. I'm getting old. I want to be playing. So maybe that's why they're looking for a keeper. But otherwise, I'd be fairly happy with him. He's decent. When he's come in, like when he played in the Europa League, and I thought he'd done all right. You know, I was more than happy with him as a backup keeper. Madupe says, Robbie, don't forget about Eddie Nketiah. I believe Eddie could be a good player if we give him some time. Exactly. Is some of these people that we're talking about, Emmanuel Dennis, Cero Garassi, sound great. We don't know a lot about them. Exotic sounding names, brilliant, abroad. Is he better than Eddie Nketiah? I don't know. But I'm just saying, are these guys better than Eddie? Emmanuel Dennis, is he better than Eddie? Cero Garassi? I haven't seen enough of them to say. But probably if it was Eddie Nketiah playing for Club Brugge and he'd scored not, we'd be like, oh yeah, it'd be great, bring him in. But I mean, sometimes we should develop what we've got, we should. There's comments coming in. And this guy says, imagine being a young player like Martinelli and seeing your captain potentially leaving, a team leader doing mild drugs and other influential players breaking social distancing. It's a shame to see. And again, great points there. Great points. That's not a great look at all. Like you said, the team leader doing mild drugs, the captain potentially leaving, and other influential players breaking social distancing rules. It's not setting a great example, is it? It's definitely not setting a great example to the other players in the team. And this guy, Anthony, says, we already have Florian Balogun in our academy, Robbie. That's another great player coming up. So, so I'm saying we've got to be careful with some of the players we're looking to buy. Probably need to use some of the talent that we've got more. Mazami says, Stanley's not going to put his hand in his pocket. He only cares about the LA Rams. We need to get him out. We need owners like Man City have. Everybody needs owners like Man City have. Final Salute says, Laka out for Jimenez. Very good player, Jimenez. Will cost a lot of money. I suppose if you sold Laka, you'd have enough money to buy a Jimenez, Robert Quinn says, Eddie deserves a chance. Definitely deserves a chance. And I think under Arteta, he's going to get that chance. And who knows, man? I could see Eddie. If Eddie was playing week in, week out, I could see Eddie definitely getting more than 10 goals for the season. And how much have these guys scored? 9. If Eddie was playing week in, week out in the Premier League, I could see him scoring 10 goals for Arsenal. I know what you guys think, but I could see it. So, yeah, definitely Eddie deserves his chance, Rather than wasting money on those forwards, use it in the areas where we're going to need it, which is defenders, That's my opinion anyway. Kevin Moreno says, Mavropanos deserves a chance. I don't know, man. I think chances are running out for Mavropanos. He's been here now for a couple of years. He's been a bit unlucky. So injuries have not helped him. But we're yet to see anything of, where you'd say, oh, we should definitely be keeping him, if I'm being honest. I'm going to do the last couple. Daniel says, concentrate on the areas that need developments. We got good enough strikers. Agreed. Johnny Gaming says, a senior official at the Premier League club says players should not receive wages if they refuse to return to training. This is one that me and DT were discussing the other day. And I have to say, I kind of agree with that senior official. If Postman doesn't go to work today and he refuses to go because he says, you know what, I'm worried about the coronavirus, he's well within his, grounds to do that. But his employees could potentially turn around to him and say, well, we can't pay you. We can't just leave, we can't afford to just have, you just there. We can't afford to pay you. Remember, football clubs are not doing the furlough thing, right? And footballers, when they don't play, they're getting, like they haven't played for 2 months. They've still been getting their full wages of, your 50s, 60s, up to 100 grand a week. They're still getting that, right? Even though they haven't played a game. So if a football club turns around and says, right, we now have been told that it's safe for you to return under these circumstances, socially distancing, blah, 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 and a player refuses to play, why should he be paid? As I said, the postman wouldn't get paid. The office worker wouldn't get paid. The guy in the building site, any job where it's deemed that they're safe to return to and people are refusing, you can refuse. Of course, it's your health, it's your decision, but you wouldn't get paid. So why would a footballer, why should they be any different to anybody else? Why should they get paid? That's how I look on it. But it's a debate that rumbles on and on and on. Thanks for watching the show. Don't forget, we are going to be back tonight with the evening version around about 8 o'clock. So don't forget to check out AFTV's News Daily tonight and have yourself a great Monday.